Well, hi everyone, and greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy. You know, I've kind of taken a break from the channel for the last couple of months. My last child has come out of high school. We've got everybody settled into apartments now. I've kind of moved a few things around here in the house. It's just my wife and I now. And rather than being in a storage closet upstairs, I'm down in the living room next to my fireplace. That's Fred and Ethel up there, by the way. And I've got a beautiful view of the lake, as you can see. This is a lot better than staring at a dark wall covered with sound-absorbent material. And, you know, to be honest with you, my stupidity meter was redlining after dealing with a flat earth for 18 months or so. My springs were getting a little tightly wound and I needed to take a break. Well, I feel a lot better now, and I'm ready to go back and start talking about stuff that I see on the internet. So today we're going to talk about Common Core math and the firestorm that's going on Facebook and other social media sites about it. Here is a classic example of it. This is a post put up by somebody on Facebook that's got thousands of views. Maybe you've seen it before. And there's a couple of interesting things I think you'll note about it. First of all, you see how it says before pandemic, like when children were in school? And then after pandemic, when the smart parents took over from the teachers who don't know anything. And notice too the hashtag down there, I don't have time to learn anything new. When new technology or new concepts come out, people are kind of divided into two groups. You have the group that complains, and then you have the group, like me, that sits down and says, well, how does this make my life easier? So let's go over this in a couple of the comments from this post and see what we can do with it. Now, some of you may remember my son Kyle, who just graduated from high school. Well, a couple of years ago, he was playing football, and I picked him up after practice one day. And he had been rode hard and put up wet. So I said, Kyle, what's going on? What did you do today? And he said, the coach made us run 40-yard sprints, 14 of them. Let's see, that's 400 plus 160, 560 yards I had to sprint in full gear. And I'm thinking, hey, that was cool. How did he multiply 14 by 40 that quickly? Well, let me show you how he did it. It was called Common Core. So we've got 40-yard dashes times 14 equals what? Well, that's kind of a big math problem to try and do in your head, especially when you can barely walk, you're so tired and exhausted. But what he did was he just simply realized that that was 40 times 10 plus 40 times 4 equals 400, 160, and the total is 560 yards. You see how the problem was broken down into very manageable chunks that you could actually solve in your head? That's the basis of Common Core math. It teaches understanding rather than the rote memorization that many of us learned in school. For example, all of us learned our times tables up to about 12. What's 13 times 14? Can you do that in your head like you can do it up to 12? Probably not. I mean, it's simple enough we can do it the old-fashioned way, but we can also sit down and say 13 times 15 would be 130 plus 65. That would be 195, and then we have to take 113 away. So let me give you an example of how you can solve that rather easily. And I put this up on the discussion board, and I don't think anybody was able to answer it. Okay? So, what's 42 times 99? Can you do that in your head? Well, yes, you can if you understand the concept behind Common Core, and that is learn the theory behind the numbers and then use that theory to make things simple for you. That's the same thing as 42 times 100 minus 42, right? So we've got 4,200 minus 42, and we can all make change. So that's 4158. And there's your answer in your head. That's the strength of Common Core math. Now, these are some very typical comments from a very long comment thread underneath that illustration. A lot of people are complaining about the extra steps and how it doesn't make any sense and why not just teach them the old-fashioned way. But we've got one poster right up here, looks like her name is Deanna, that hits the nail right on the head. Common Core teaches concepts. The older method teaches memorization. Being able to understand and use numbers is a very important thing. I use it every single day in my job as a doctor. Let me give you an example. Now, in medicine, many times drugs are given in milligrams per kilogram, but most people know their weight in pounds. So, I weigh 195 pounds, and the dose of lidocaine is 1 milligram per kilogram. How do I convert that 195 pounds to kilograms? And I need to be able to do that in my head quickly at the bedside. So, let's have a look at this for a second. And let's see, 1 pound, or 1 kilogram, equals 2.2 pounds. Well, that's kind of an interesting number. So, 5 kilograms would equal 11 pounds. 11 is kind of a cool number because most of us can do math with 11 in our head. So, let's see, 195 pounds. So, 110 pounds would be 50 kilograms. And if I added 88 pounds to that 110 pounds, I'd get 198 pounds. 88 is 4 11s. So 88 equals 40 kilograms. However, the question was 195 pounds, not 198. 198 was just simply easier to figure out. So we need to take away we need to subtract 1.5 kilograms to make up for that 3 pounds. And we come up with 88.5. That's a pretty good estimate. It's off by less than 1%. Let's look at another way to do it. We'll just come up here a little bit higher, and this will be a lot easier. So, a lot of people kind of divide pounds by 2 to get kilograms, but a kilogram is 2.2 pounds, not 2 pounds. So, if I'm 195 pounds, dividing that by 2 doesn't come out even. But if I divide 200 pounds by 2, I get 100, right? Now, because 2.2 is about 10% more than 2, I just have to take 10 pounds off of that, or 10 kilos off of that, which is 10%, and that gives me 90 kilos. However, remember, I added about 2.5 or 3 kilos up here, so let's go ahead and take 2.5 off of that. And that comes up to 87.5. Now let's go ahead and do that on a calculator and see what it actually comes to. So 195 divided by 2.2 equals 88.63 kilograms. We're off by less than 1%, and we were able to do that in our heads because we understood how to use the numbers. Give you 2 more quick examples, and then I'm going to show you something that's kind of a cool trick. So, how many yards in 1/2 kilometer? Now, can you do that in your head right now? Now, we know that a kilometer is 1,000 meters, so half a kilometer would be 500 meters. We know that a yard is 36 inches. And we know that a meter is about 40 inches. Notice that if you added 3.6 to 36, you'd come up with 39.6, which is pretty close to 40. So we know that 1 meter equals about 1.1 yards. So 500 meters equals 550 yards. Now, there are some small rounding errors with this because the actual answer is 555 yards. However, that's just designed to make it a little bit easier for us to do it in our heads. And to be honest with you, being within 1% is generally close enough. You can do the exact figure if you need to. But if you just need to do a quick in-your-head estimate, using Common Core math like this is very simple to do. And you already do it. For example, If you buy a candy bar for 85 cents and you give the clerk $1 and she goes, well, 85 cents, a nickel is 90, a dime is $1. Here's your change, 15 cents. That's a Common Core number line. Now the bottom line is that Common Core math is just the same old math that we've always used. It's just looking at it a slightly different way and trying to knock it down into bite-sized pieces. And by understanding the concepts rather than memorizing a script to do something, you can figure out answers in your head that you would normally have to do on a calculator or with pen and paper. Now, I'd like to finish up with another example from history of people that just looked at math a little bit differently and managed to come up with some very elegant tools that we could use to make our life easier. There was a kid in Germany that was old enough to be doing basic arithmetic, but still young enough to be going out for recess. And one day his teacher gave the class an assignment. I want you to add all of the numbers between 1 and 100 together, and when you can come up with the answer, you can go out to recess. Well, no sooner had she sat down than this little boy, whose name was Gauss, came up and said the answer is 5,050. That's the correct answer. Well, how did he get it? Now, most people, when you are asked to add the numbers from 1 to 100 together, will go 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, etc. All right, that was kind of the idea behind what the teacher was going to do, and just occupy the children for a few minutes and have them do a little arithmetic skills. Gauss, on the other hand, said, well, 1 plus 100 equals 101. 2 plus 99 equals 101. 3 plus 98 equals 101. And he noticed a little pattern there. And then he realized that 101 times 50 is the answer. And indeed it was. Now this is a way that I learned called Oriental multiplication. And it just uses lines like you see here. So let's take a problem and let's take 42 times 21. Now there's a couple of different ways that we could do that. The Common Core way might be to take 42 times 20 and then add 42 to it. Or we could do it out longhand, the old-fashioned way. But this is the Oriental way of doing it. What you do is you draw 4 lines and 2 lines. That's the 42. And then you draw 2 lines and 1 line, and that's the 21. And then all you have to do is count the intersections. So we got 2 there. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 there. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's our answer. It's a pretty neat trick. Why don't you have a look at that and maybe do some other work with that. See if it's easier for you, or if it's a little trick that you could just throw in your back pocket that would come in handy for you sometimes. But the bottom line is there's more than one way to skin a cat, and the more ways that you know how to skin a cat, the fewer times you have problems doing the skinning. So, this is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll be back a little bit more regularly from now on. Take care, guys.